Welcome to the late night edition. Welcome to the late night edition. I had some technical issues, among other things, so we'll get into it in just a second. So, shout out to everybody who able to get on me, on the late night tonight. If not, catch you guys on the replay. But we about to get into it, so should be a fun one. Should be a fun one. I'm gonna give it about another minute or two just to see, if anybody gets the notifications and they'll come in. It's been a long day. Hey, good evening, Geraldine. How you doing? Good to see you. Glad to see you. Here on this wonderful Sunday evening with me. Appreciate you. We gonna get into it in a minute. I know it's a late one, but it is what it is. I'm gonna give it about another minute just to allow some people to actually get notifications to see that I'm live. The live that I actually set under the schedule was streaming horizontally and or vertically. I'm sorry, streaming vertically, and it wouldn't allow me to close it or change it. It was just weird, so I had to go back out, and then then YouTube froze up. Believe it or not, so I don't know what that was about. And then now I'm back. So we gonna get into it in just a minute. Talk about some things. Hey Vivi, how you doing? Glad to you can stop in and chat with us tonight. Before I get started, I'm gonna allow some people to filter in because oftentimes they tell me when they filter in, you done already started and they miss stuff. So I want to allow them to actually get a moment or so to actually filter in before I get started. But like I said, I appreciate everybody for actually coming in this Sunday tonight and hanging out with G's One of One. And appreciate y'all for subscribing to the channel, coming back and getting this the information and giving information. It does not go unnoticed. So like I said, let's just give it one more minute and we will get started. My actual the thumbnail, I had labeled this one give me one second. I had labeled this one diving and digging deeper. That was the original thumbnail, and for whatever reason, it I don't know, maybe it actually, I don't know. I was trying to check it because I can check with my other screen, with my big screen on that side, but no, I don't think so. I think I'm gonna have to delete that one and then redo it. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. So that's here nor there. Nonetheless, we live now. So yep, it's gonna be under another thumbnail. So I'll go and I'll delete the other one. Um Hopefully nobody is actually over on that one. Let me go out and check because if so, I might be able to. Yeah, so that one's not coming up. So it's just the other one. So I'll fix that later. All right, y'all. We're gonna give it about 30 seconds. We got about 5 people in here. Just give it 30 seconds to see if we get somebody else that gets the notification. I try to wait 5 minutes now just to allow people to get notifications and come in before we get started so they don't miss things and then have to catch up. If you actually are here, please like the stream so that we train the algorithm that these are the type of videos and the information that you want to actually hear. Okay. So appreciate y'all. And we're gonna get started right about now. So good evening, and welcome to another episode, another live of G's One of One. Every Sunday night we meet here and we get we get to talking about GLP-1, those GLP-1 streets, and I try to lay some information on you guys that's useful also. Okay. Um, so I usually start with myself, talk a little bit, start talking about my week, and give a little bit of a recap. Um, and sometimes I'll talk about my wife's week because I know people that actually know about her and know her journey actually like to hear about that. Um, and here we go. So basically, my week, I actually posted in the post, and I did actually let I'm doing a thing now where I actually put my results in there so that way people can see them. So if you actually are curious, you can go over to my actual post and look at my actual results. I had a tremendous week, a tremendous week. Why? Because like I've told most people, I've kind of moved my mindset from strictly total body weight over to um focusing on muscle growth and fat decrease, right? We want to shrink fat and grow muscle. That's kind of where the ultimate health lies, not in total body weight at some point. Now, if you are clinically obese, a BMI of 40 or above, maybe a 35 or above, heck, maybe even obese, a 30 or above, then I understand why, your goal is to just lose weight, where from wherever you can lose it from. I get it, right? Because you're the benefit outweighs the risk, right? But then when you're no longer obese or clinically obese and you become like just overweight, right? Your focus has to kind of switch because now you're dealing with a different monster, right? And that what that is, and I'm not saying you have to wait to resistance train and do all of the things that actually lead to you growing muscle and decreasing fat. But I'm saying once you actually get to that point of no longer being obese or clinically obese, it becomes vital because this is where the recomposing of your body occurs, right? Um, uh, that's where I'm at. Loose skin is no fun. Right, loose skin is no fun, right? So this is why, like I said, let me put my glasses back on just in case. This is why, like I said, that I've really been on a journey to actually preach to people that we actually kind of got to do a better job of letting people know that this is not just about total body weight loss, right? At one point it is, and then it's not. So back to my week. So this week I was able to show that I literally lost 5% of my body fat, right? And I gained muscle, right? I lost body fat and gained muscle. Now, along the way, I did pick up, I want to say, well, in all actuality, later on, I did my weight a little bit later in the morning. I did the first weight, the one I posted like early, as soon as I got up. And then actually, once I went to the bathroom, everything like that, then I actually got back on just to get my actual total body weight. So my total body weight is 217.4, right? So the pound that it said I went up, I kind of like really did it. You know what I mean? That's just what I mean about recon. So I was able to gain muscle and lose fat. I lost 5% of my body fat in the last 1 week, right? And what that and to be specific, if you go and like I said, look at the post that I put up, it'll show you that my muscle mass was 156 pounds, right? 156 pounds, and I had 51 pounds of fat, right? So what that means is over the course of 1 week, I was actually able to decrease my body fat and increase my muscle, regardless of what my scale weight said, right? So that means my body starting to look different. And it's not only just looking different. The shirt that you see me with right now, this shirt that I have on is a large. Okay. I used to wear 3X big 3X big in these polo shirts. This shirt right here is a large. Okay. So if that gives you any indication of what I'm talking about when I talk about recomp, recomp is real. You know what I mean? I've seen much more definition in my chest area, my stomach, my midsection is steadily shrinking in, right? And my pants around the waist, even the belt that I'm using in the 34 is at times loose. So what that means is even though the scale is not moving down rapidly, it's in some cases increasing. That's telling me that I'm actually losing fat, right? So you can't just look at the scale. You can't just be so focused on the scale that you don't focus on your body, right? You don't focus on your clothing. You don't focus on what you look like in the mirror. You have to, because what that is going to give you more indicators of what's actually happening, right? And lo and behold, I would like to say I'm very excited and happy to say that my wife, her numbers, she weighed in yesterday are were looking much the same because I have her on the same program, that the same one that I'm doing for myself. I have her doing. It's not an official program. It's just what I know scientifically will actually help you to lose fat and gain muscle. And I actually posted that as well in my post also. Now, and I'll go over that in a moment. So actually, let me go into that just so I can pull it up. But so hers was looking pretty much the same. What happened with her is I looked at her numbers and she actually lost weight. She's 152 pounds, which means she's down 45 pounds. But she also actually gained a good deal of muscle and lost some fat. So it's actually like told her is exactly what you want to see. This can't just be forever about losing total body weight, right? Because at some point you do have to recomp your body. Now that might not that and it, no, I want to say it might not be true for everybody, but it is. It's true for everybody. At some point, the actual true health lies in recomposition and fixing your health markers, right? Because when I'm talking about this, I'm also talking about visceral fat, not just subcutaneous, right? Because my subcutaneous was about 21%, and now my subcutaneous fat is just shy, it's about 16.8, just shy of 17%. So really subcutaneous, as we know, is that fat you can just grab, right? So not the one that visceral fat that lies deep within. That visceral fat that lies deep within, that also showed a decrease. I went from an 11 to a 9, and my actual metabolic age shifted from a 47 to a 44, which is younger than I am because I'm 45, right? So these are all the markers and all the things that you want to see happen via the Renfrew scale, right? This is the scale you want to have because this is going to tell you all of the things. It's going to tell you all the things that it is that I'm telling you right here tonight. You can see those numbers. If you just get, like everybody say, the $20 scale at Walmart, you're probably not going to get those numbers, right? You got to spend a little bit in order to get the math. Because if you don't have the math, right, and you don't know, what it is you need to work on, what are we doing, right? How do you plan for the week? You know how sometimes you plan out your meals for the week and you say, hey, this way I can stay healthy by eating the right thing. You got to do the same thing with the numbers, right? Because if you don't know the numbers, and I'm not saying you got to track everything, but once a week you probably do want to check, right? Um, because how can you make a proper plan if you don't know what it is you need to actually do, or what you need to lose, or what the differences are? And then what happens is you end up chasing something that you don't need to. Now, this is a bit repetitive. I did talk about this before, but I've had a renewed vision and the fact of how much that what I'm saying is needed, because even with these videos, I'm still seeing videos. I seen Twan the other day having on her live mentioning body fat because she said I was the first guy that she heard talking about percent body fat and muscle mass, and not now and make no mistake, I know everybody has been hearing, you're gonna lose your muscle on those GLP-1s. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is what it is we're supposed to do regardless, and that is to protect our muscle and lose fat, right? And there's a way to do that, but we have to actually focus in and know how, right? Because a lot of people will tell you just lift weights, just do this, just do that, but you saying but how, but what, right? So I'm not one that track calories. I do intermittent fasting, all of those things, but I do know that since I've eaten more and I've had more energy and I lift heavier weights, my body is recomping, right? I do know that. I know for a fact that the numbers on the scale is, even though total body weight ain't moving around a whole lot, I know that my muscle mass and my subcutaneous fat, visceral fat, and the fat body fat percentage is changing miraculously, right? And that's because I'm eating a little more. This is getting into the plan, that I talked about. Let me see if I can go to my page and pull it up just so I can read it to y'all if y'all haven't seen it. We got some other things to talk about too. Appreciate that, Jolene. Yeah, I had my other browser open and I don't know. I might have lost that one. I had everything dialed up, but now I don't see it. So I'm gonna have to go back into my page. But basically what it said was what I would like people to do for 8 weeks is eat more, right? I need you to actually walk 3 to 4 times a week for at least 20 minutes to maybe 30 minutes on an incline. So if you have a treadmill, then obviously you can just, raise that treadmill, to an incline that you're comfortable with. And if you actually are one that walks outside like me, you got to pretty much you have to add hills to your walk, right? So you got to make sure that you actually are walking in an upward motion, for enough time to get that heart rate up, right? Because a lot of you guys hear about the retatrutide adding that glucagon factor that's actually burning fat because it is utilizing your heart, right, to get that energy expenditure revving. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you're doing that daily with your walks, right? And not, necessarily consistently only walking flat footed, right? Just to get that increase in energy burn. The other thing is you want to definitely make sure you're lifting weights. That's the big one, right? You want to lift weights about 3 to 4 times a week. And to make that make sense, when I say lifting weights, what I mean is you definitely want to make sure that you actually are, if you are lifting light, let's say you lifting 5 pounds, right? Because that's considered light, right? Anywhere between 2 and 5 pounds is considered really light. Those aren't the weights you want to use. Now, if you've never lifted a weight a day in your life, those are the weights you want to use. You want to grab your 5 pound and start there. But I would say for a lot of ladies, because we have a lot of ladies watching, you definitely want to actually use an 8 pound. If you use an 8 pound weight, and then find yourself, there's so many videos. But like my wife, she found her own video. She don't use my video, she found her own. It doesn't really matter. Hey, what up, Brown Mel? So it doesn't really matter. You can actually go and utilize any video on Apple, YouTube that you find that is, one that would allow you to actually have a program that would actually be lifting weights. It really doesn't matter. Just as long as, and she do like 10-minute ones, little 10-minute ones, but she's pretty consistent. So for me, I have a more like advanced tape. Well, it's a series of this that I use for my training. But I've gotten consistent where I do them at least 3 times, sometimes 4 times a week now, and I'm actually seeing the result, right? And the numbers that I posted comes just from that. Now, mind you, that was a simple 3-step thing. Eat more, right? You want to eat more food because you need more food. Because so many of us for so long have been just trying to actually cut calories in hopes of losing weight to the point where it's not beneficial, right? You want to make sure that you get a calculator. It could be the TDDE, where actually you actually can input your stuff into that calculator and it'll tell you what it is that you need to eat. And you guys can even see what my BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, it actually has increased, right? You can see that I'm eating even more, but my body is still changing in a major way, right? So, and the reason why the eat more thing, right? So the eat more thing is technically all about having energy, right? Because a lot of you guys are, oh, I'm so fatigued, and because you're not eating enough, you don't have enough food. Now, obviously, sometimes with the suppression of the medication, it does do that. It does do that, right? So you have to actually be smart about it. And what I mean by that is kind of front load your calories, right? So try to eat heavier on like the, let's say, 2 days prior to your shot. So that way the 2 days prior to your shot and possibly even shot day could be heavier eating than the 3 days, the 4 days after the shot. You see what I mean? Because that's where you have the max suppression. And it might be more difficult to eat. So if you increase your calories on those days, right? Because the week is still the week, it would actually help you to have enough energy to be able to eat, enough to have enough energy to lift weights, right? Because I feel like people see a lot of videos on the internet, but don't necessarily listen to some of the details. And it really is this simple. So we start with the eating, so that way we have more energy. And then we want to actually do the walk, right? But on an incline. The incline is important because we're getting that energy expenditure up, right? Because even if you wasn't on a GLP-1, you still would be getting told these same things. You'll be getting told the same things. And let me not forget to add, when you're eating, you definitely want to actually be getting that 0.8 to 1 to amount of grams of protein, because basically for your goal weight. So if your goal weight is 150, you want to get 150 grams. If it's 200, you want to get 200 grams, right? Now, sometimes you might have to double up. And what I mean is, like, if you're making eggs, right? You might have to do eggs and your protein shake together because the eggs and the protein shake together will get you will boost you, early on. Even if you like somebody that eat if you do intermittent fasting like a 12 to 8 and you want to start and you start your breakfast, let's just say you do breakfast at noon. I'm not a big breakfast person. Like I said, I only eat breakfast on Sundays, and on Sunday, a lot of times that's what I would do. I'll do eggs and I'll do like a protein shake. So you do both at one time and you get a mother load of protein, right? And then you go, with your lunch. Like today. Today I had eggs and a protein shake. This is probably around 1 o'clock, right? 1:30. And then I went to dinner and at like 6:30, I ate, of course, y'all know I had a ribeye. I had a ribeye, you know what I mean? And that kind of like, went ahead and took care of my calories, my protein for the entire day. The protein is important because you want to actually keep your muscle, right? So I know we use protein, 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 you hear it all the time, but it's really important because we're talking about gaining muscle, right? And that's exactly like I said, if you go look at the numbers, what I did. And I'm just telling y'all exactly what I did, how I got those numbers. I made sure I ate enough protein to have energy and to protect my muscle, right? Because what the medication does is it will, cause, you to, it's gonna go, it's gonna get the weight from wherever it needs to, and it's going to be muscle and not fat if you don't have enough protein and the weightlifting, right? Because that's the other side of it, right? So the walking is just to make sure that two things, you actually get into a calorie deficit a little bit. I need hip replacement but not candidate for the surgery. However, I'm down 90, was that 96 56 pounds. Let me go back, I'll look at that real quick. uh she said, however, I'm down 95 pounds, torn rotator cuff, so I lift 5 pounds up from 3 pounds at least 4 to 5 weeks. Good job. Good job. See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Amazing, Geraldine. You definitely want to actually, because you know what? And the reason why I feel like this is important is because a lot of people leave people out and they assume a lot of things, right? People assume a lot of things. And when I mean by people assume a lot of things is they just say, oh, make sure I resistance train. That's very vague, you know what I mean, to a lot of the ladies and stuff that never even did it. And I'm not saying you gotta get a personal trainer, but that's not enough. You gotta actually tell people what you mean by that, right? Yeah, absolutely, RMZ. She getting it in, man. She getting it in. Hip replacement, rotator cuffs. I mean, she doing the thing. And that's the thing. Because my wife started with the 5 pounds too. So, like I said, if you can move to 8, you move to 8, right? If you're a guy on here and you started at 8, then you move to 10 or 12 or 15, whatever that looks like to you. And then after a series of weeks, you want to actually move up, beyond that, right? Because these things are very important when we recompositioning our body, right? Because we want to make sure that we are getting the ultimate benefits of the medications that we're taking, not just taking the medication and then, trying to eat as less as possible. Because I think that's been the mind state. We got 8 people on the live stream and 5 likes. So if you could take a moment and smash that button if you have not, and hit the bell so that way you can be notified when videos of mine pop up. So that way you know that I'm live and you actually, don't miss what it is that, we're bringing to you guys. So appreciate you guys for being here, like I said, on this Sunday night, with your boy G's one of one. So I was just talking about allowing chair warm water quite 2 3 times. Yeah, so you're doing the thing. You're doing the thing. You're doing the thing, Geraldine. That definitely makes sense. So my challenge for you, I got a challenge for you, Geraldine. So you're doing 2 to 3. Can you sneak in a fourth? Right. So that'll be your challenge for this week. Try to sneak in one more day of that aerobic training, right? Or either the chair workout, just one more day. If you've been doing 2 to 3 for, let's say, more than 4 weeks or more than 8 weeks, let's see if you can sneak in one more session. If you sneak in one more session to see, what that would do for you. And then also, like I said, I'm not one to track, but I think that it would be very good to you for you to figure out how many calories you're getting in the week, and then actually see if you can throughout the week increase by just maybe 200 calories a day. Try to get 200 calories in a day. That could be something as simple as one more shake, or one more protein shake, or something like that. Maybe a couple of eggs, just something else to actually give you more energy, outside of vitamin B, right? Because we all using vitamin B in one way or another, or a lot of us, not all, but a lot of us. I take a one a day. I take the the I take the one a day that has the ultra like vitamin B and Pro Edge, called Pro Edge, because it has a lot of vitamin B in there and some other things for energy, and then my protein shakes have vitamin B. So I know people that are taking compound are infused with vitamin B, but what I'm talking about is natural, right? I'm just saying naturally try to get a little bit more. Well, not I'm not saying 100% natural, because I just told you to drink a protein shake, which could be processed, right? So if you don't make it yourself, then it's processed. But it's just a way that you would actually do this on a regular basis to make sure you got enough protein to protect your muscle, and then you get enough energy to actually do your work, do your weightlifting, right? Because these things are very important in order for you to actually build that muscle, right? And then when you put all of these things together along with the walking on the incline, or actually utilizing hills like I do, what happens is you have a synergy, right? There's a synergy that starts to go to build with these things, as long as you're doing it 3 or 4 times a week, right? Because if you're just doing it once or twice, you might not get the whole benefit of doing it 3 to 4 times or every other day, right? Now, the reason why I say every other day is because your muscle actually needs time to actually heal, right? So, which is a part of why the actual scale goes up, because you get that fluid from the muscle, uh, inflammation from the muscles being torn, you know what I mean, and then reinvigorating. So once they actually are, they do their thing, you actually start to see the growth, But the synergy comes from doing all of the things, doing the eating, so that way you get the protein, so that way you actually can actually have some energy, right? Then making sure that you're doing the actual weightlifting and lifting heavy, to failure. And what I mean by that is you want to get to the point where you actually feel like, you start to struggle with the weight. If you start to struggle with the weight, that means that you're just below failure, right? So, and the more you do that, the muscle gets accustomed, and then you move up a little bit more in your weight, right? And then that actually starts to build your body, right? Because that's the goal, right? And again, we're not talking about nothing that hurt, because I mean, you have hypertrophy. Yes, I can't add another protein shake. I take B12 shot once a month, and minus 72. Amazing, Geraldine. 72. Yes, hooray. Hey, listen, happy birthday. First, I want to say that. And I'm proud that, you are, able to, at that fabulous age, be able to do the things that you're doing, because I think that's simply amazing. And much respect to everything it is that you're doing. And yet, hey, you know what? Happy birthday to Round Mound too. I actually meant to say that. So happy birthday. So please throw up the birthday horns in the chat for Charles, because he turned 52, which is a big deal. You know what I mean? And he's hit a lot of amazing milestones, and one of the biggest ones is beating cancer, so big ups to you, Chuck, for beating beating that ugly cancer by jumping on that thing, right away. And especially on this, getting ready to head out for dinner. Okay, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. What's crazy? It's 10:30 here. I actually did dinner today, um a little bit earlier, so actually just probably like around 6, but I probably was like 3 o'clock your time. So I always get, I'm thinking it's so late, but it's late here, but not too late for the people that's on the West Coast. Um, and it's actually Men's Health Month, so I actually wanted to say shout out to all the men anyway. And a little bit of somber news: a friend of mine, Jason, he was probably maybe a year or so older than me. He passed away just I want to say 2 days ago, day before yesterday. And so shout out to him. And this is dedication. This live is dedicated to him and all of the guys that can, hear or see this particular video, and try to, get in front of their health conditions, because he had some things going on. He actually got better, but I mean, obviously, it got the best of him. So, I yeah, appreciate that, Charles. We were good friends. He actually did. We actually came up in church together, and as young guys, little guys, and he actually, with the Bosses and Babe networking that me and my wife do. He actually was a director of some of healthcare, various healthcare care companies. And like I said, such a young guy to actually lose his life that way is and I don't know exactly what happened in the last few days, but I do know he was in a hospital probably I want to say a year or two ago, dealing with some things. He had lost an amazing amount of weight. Yeah, appreciate that amazing amount of weight, and he was looking really healthy and everything. So that's when I got that news. It was like, wow, it was such a shocker, and that's the thing, that's why I always say, enjoy every moment, you know what I mean? Enjoy every moment and live every day like it is the last, because none of us know, regardless of, what we do, what lies around the corner. So like I said, we will dedicate this particular live stream tonight to Jason Frisbee, going too soon at, very young age, not even 50. I want to say he probably was 47. I'm 45, probably was 47. But again, great, great, great guy. You know what I mean? So, pretty sad. But this is why I do this. You know what I mean? Because I think it's important. I think that us men have to. Good night, Charles. Happy birthday again. This is why I do this, and I just think that we have to make sure that we are actually, following up and taking care of our health, and saying, that when we need help, and just doing all of the things, doing all of the things. So we were just talking about for those that entered the chat just recently, we were talking about what it is that I was doing to lose muscle, I mean lose fat and gain muscle. And I was just going over the three things, but there is one more. There's actually five things, but I went over the three, which was eat more, resistance train, lift weights, right, and then make sure that you're actually getting your cardio on an incline. There's two other factors. So the other two factors are making sure you get more sleep, and I feel like I've been doing that as of late. I've gotten better with sleeping, and the final one is stress, right? You want to do your best to actually reduce the stress as much as possible, right? And the way that you want to do that is making sure that you take time out for yourself, to actually kind of recenter, and I hear like breathing exercises work. The breathing exercises I wouldn't say don't really aren't as helpful for me, but taking a good 5 minutes and just like recentering and taking a moment and probably just thinking about some things. It's probably this is the best shape I've been in at least 30 years. That's amazing, Geraldine. I'm actually, you deserve it, because I mean you're doing the work. So, and you definitely supportive, because you jump into everybody's, lives and everything. So, hey, Grant, what's going on, man? How you doing? How you doing? We just was in here talking about what it is that I'm doing to pretty much lower my body fat percentage and gain muscle. So, I was telling them the five things. So I'll briefly recap the five things. The five things are eating more for energy, making sure you get proper protein to actually make sure you're protecting your muscle, getting the proper resistance training in. I hit 13%. Whoa, that's crazy, Grant. 13% is amazing, man. You really working with that trainer, man. It's helping. And that's definitely such a big deal, man. That's more of a big. But so your clothing should look a lot different too. Because if you lost that much body fat, you should be probably hitting a smaller shirt now, my man. Because I'm in a smaller shirt. This is a large. I'm in a large shirt, man. This is crazy. This is crazy. Being in a large shirt, man. I don't remember wearing a large shirt almost ever. I probably was a kid. So me being in this large shirt is literally like, taking me out, man. It is. I'm very, very happy about being in a large shirt. I'm trying to tell you, it's crazy. You know what I mean? So 34 size. Hey, see that? There we go. There we go. There we go. See? Told you. So we in the same size clothing, man. See, I told you we twins, man. We're on the 15 milligram of Zepbound. We both wearing large shirts and size 34 pants. Been on the journey for about the same amount of time. So, hey, man, that is amazing stats, man. So, I have lung disease, deep breathing has helped me, and sleep help. Wait, yes, absolute. Turris twins, yep. Yeah, Jerlene, that is you are doing all of the things, and I definitely think that, you're one of the most supportive people that we got, because you everywhere helping everybody, and, lifting them up, and, actually making sure you comment, and all, all of the things. So you definitely are appreciated around the community for sure. So yes, so yeah, I got the news about my friend passing, away at that such a young age like that. And like I said, it's just more motivation to keep on doing what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So because no one, I was actually at the carnival with my kids, and I actually got a Facebook message saying, did I hear about Jason? How are you doing? Did you hear about Jason? And I was like, wow. Hey, how you doing, Zia? um I got a Facebook message saying, hey, did you hear about Jason? He died yesterday. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So, like I said, this is dedicated to Jason, man. Shout out to him, for all being, such a great guy, you know what I mean? And doing what he could, because he did lose weight and was trying to, do all the healthy things that he could do, to be healthy. But God had other plans, and Jason is no longer with us. So unfortunately. But like I said, very good guy. He actually had grandkids, believe it or not. I can't remember how many children, but he also had children and grandkids. So praying for them, praying for them. So like I said, I was talking about the five things. The five things were, uh like I said, eat more protein. Make sure you're getting the protein that you want, the protein that would equate to the body weight goal that you have for yourself at the finish line. You know what I mean? Like mine is 200, so I should be getting about 200 grams of protein. I should, make sure I'm resistance training 3 to 4 times a week. I should also make sure that I am walking on an incline, whether if I'm on a treadmill, and on a hill if I'm outside, to increase that energy expenditure. And then I should also make sure that I am managing stress, the best way you possibly can, right? Because that's always the one that people say, well, how? Just taking a moment, you know what I mean, and decompressing, and then sleep. You gotta sleep. So if you do those things on a consistent basis over a matter of months, you will definitely see, progress. You will see big time progress. So Grant, if you had 13% body fat, are you trying to get to 10? And where is your actual what is your actual total body weight? Did you see your body weight go up while you were actually going decreasing your body fat? Because I know mine's is kind of staying around that 217 to 219 area. I can't I'm trying to I've been teetering. The lowest I've been was 215, but then I started really lifting heavy, and I've been at 217 up to like 219 for quite a while, just going back and forth. But I'm not really worried about that because my muscle has increased major, and my actual fat has dropped by 5%. Lost 2 pounds, but 0.6 of fat and gained muscle. Yeah, see that? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing, man. Gaining that muscle, man. Gaining that muscle and losing that fat. So so what's your actual goal? Do you want to get to 10%? Is that your goal? Because for me, honestly, I'll be happy just being at 15. And you know what? It's still crazy how massively different our bodies can be, because we still can look a lot different, even though we might end up with the same body fat percentage. You know what I mean? It's crazy because right now my body fat percentage is 23, right? But if you look at like me and my clothing and my shirts and things like that, you probably wouldn't think so. But even though that's the only place I do have, the only place I have a good deal of fat is around my midsection, which is always the last thing I hadn't thought about body fat percentage goal. We'll see. Yeah, well, that's what you're doing. If you're at 13, you know what I mean? If you're at 13%, and you probably at this point probably want to get a DEXA, because being that low is good. Like you really want to, like, you know what I mean, to see how far you're gonna take it. Let's just shoot that. You want to see that. Yeah, well, I mean, Jerlene, you doing all of the things, so I already know, you know what I mean, and your numbers are looking good. So I think you on the road to victory. I mean, heck, you already got the victory. You know what I mean? Being a fabulous 72 and in the shape that you're in, that's just amazing. We can only hope to get there. You know what I mean? We can only hope to get there. Need to find me a Dex while Florida. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. So you can really get some real, a total picture. You know what I mean? You should definitely, if that's where you are now, man, definitely get that DEXA, man. Get that DEXA. Check on that visceral fat and everything, because you're in a good place, man. Good place and good space to get some really good results, man. So there's that, man. I just wanted to sort of kind of hop in, talk about, I mean, with it being so late, we're not gonna be here live. I'll probably be on another 10 minutes or so. I won't hold it too long since we got on late. We had a lot of technical problems and everything today. But I just wanted to get on, dedicate this one to Jason, a good friend of mine that passed away at, like I said, just I believe about I think it was around 47, you know what I mean? Way, way, way too young. Had some health difficulties, lost quite a good deal of weight, and was seemed to be on the mend, but you know, passed away. So, um, I actually talked about, how it is that I ended up with the numbers that I have. Uh, that people will see if you go check my post, go over the post on my page, and you'll see my numbers, how I'm losing fat and gaining muscle, how my body is recomping, how I'm now wearing a large shirt, a size large. This is crazy being in a large shirt and got room. Like this is it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Appreciate that, Zia. Um, so yeah, he was a great guy. He's, really kind of like a connector, you know what I mean? We went to church, young, and then he actually did this recent start coming to me and my wife's Boston Babes events. And promoting, because he was a health director, but he had a book that he was actually promoting too. So yeah. Um Shiny. Oh, hey, Shiny in the building. What up? So yeah, so there's that. We talked about the actual 5 things. I'll recap again one more time. Uh the 5 things that I'm doing is eating more, right? And when I say eat more, I'm just talking about 200 more calories maybe a day, right? You eat like maybe 200 more calories a day to make sure you have. This is for energy. It's for energy and protecting your muscles. So you want to eat more protein. Probably around your goal weight. If that's 150, 150. If it's 200, 200, right? You want to make sure that you actually resistance training and make sure that you're moving up in weights, right? You move up from the 5 to maybe the 8, or 8 to 10, and you actually want to actually work to failure, right? So you work those muscles till you feel like you probably can't go, right before you can't go anymore, and then you drop it and then move up, as the muscle grows. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you're walking on an incline, or either on a hill if you're outside, to increase that energy expenditure. A lot of us hearing that about, when you hear about retatrutide, you hear about the energy expenditure via the glucagon, because that's a thing, right? That's what that does. So you definitely want to make sure you're doing that. You want to make sure you manage your stress, and you want to make sure that you're getting the proper sleep, right? Which is about 7 hours. Try to aim for at least 7 hours. You get 7 hours, you should be okay, right? If you can get 9 hours, amazing. But I know these days it's kind of hard to sleep 9 and 10 hours, for some people. If you can do it, great. But try to get your 7 hours. Try to make that the minimum. Get your 7 hours, right? And you want to try to get some deep sleep, right? You want to try to make sure that you get deep, deep sleep, because that's where a lot of that, healing occurs. And then these things form a synergy, as long as, and the one thing I did leave out that I did recap earlier, but I've said it a few times, you want to make sure that you resistance training and doing the walking at least 3 to 4 times. 3 to 4 times a week, right? You don't want to just do 1 or 2, because that's not enough. That's not enough to see results. You want to do it 3 to 4 times. And if you're doing it, and if you kind of a beginner, right? You can start at 3, but you definitely want to like kind of start out good, So try to do 4, and then basically, maybe you can go down a little bit. And you start to see, results, and modify, right? So that's kind of like the first topic. I just wanted to tell people how it is that I'm getting those numbers. The numbers that I'm posting, about, my actual, gaining muscle and losing the body fat. Um, so we also want to talk about, the actual retatrutide, right? And the reason why we want to talk about retatrutide just a little bit, and what I mean by that just a little bit, is that, we are seeing I believe it was Turtle Diaries. I just saw like a quick summary of her video. She was asking questions, right? And I'll just read this. I want to read something just so everybody can actually see this, or hear this. Just to answer the questions that I know are starting to actually float around out there. I want to read this to everybody. Retatrutide is not legally available on the compounding market or through any pharmacy. right? The drug is still in phase 3 clinical trials, right? The FDA explicitly warns that selling, compounding, or using retatrutide outside of the official clinical trials is illegal and has sent warning letters to online companies doing so, right? Now, this is not Eli Lilly, this is the FDA. The FDA is sending out these warnings, right? The legal and regulatory reality, right? Clinical trials only. The authentic retatrutide is the one supplied directly by the manufacturer, Eli Lilly, for controlled trial participants. And I'll pause right there. There are a lot of controlled trials that's going on. So if you actually are interested in actually taking it, I suggest we start applying for these trials, right? And believe it or not, I actually got offered one with alloralenatide, but I didn't want to do it because of how far I am in my journey. But they will take people that have been on GLP-1 as long as it's been a certain amount of time. Now, what that time is depends on the trial. So you definitely should actually look into it if you are interested, right? No FDA approval. Because the drug is still experimental, it does not meet the legal requirements to be produced by compounding pharmacies. So I hope that really answered the question. So if you get emails, you're getting people saying, they actually, are going to start, compounding this, it's a lie. They're not legal. It's gray market. They're sourcing things through China, and they're actually conjuring up and concocting these things themselves. And I've said this before, so don't be surprised when you see some of these internet docs, right, that are getting on here and actually doing this, because they are. And you know how a lot of them are actually adding actual, glucagon itself, to tirzepatide, right? So and oh my goodness, there's all kind of problems with that. I mean, number one, right? There is a balance to what it is that, for sure, Gerling. There's a balance to what the actual retatrutide has in order to make that or come up with the actual symmetry, right? And that means that there's a certain percentage of each one of these particular uh peptides being used to actually hit certain receptors. And when you actually just haphazardly mix it the way you feel like what makes sense, is not safe, right? It's not safe. So, uh, FDA crackdown. The FDA has sent warning letters to several online vendors and compounding pharmacies for selling research grade or compounded retatrutide, right? Noting that these drugs bypass manufacturing safeguards and pose significant health risks. While you may find websites and wellness forums selling retatrutide as a research chemical, these powders and liquids are not evaluated by the FDA for safety, sterility, or purity. Those are three things I always say: safety, sterility, and purity. Safety, sterility, and purity. You need it, right? Because you're injecting this into your body. Okay. Phase 3 clinical trials are expected to conclude at the end of the year, which will most likely lead to FDA approval. Once and if FDA approval is granted, it may take time for the drug to be commercially available, and it is highly likely the manufacturer will strongly protect the legal rights against compounding. All right. So if you are looking for options, right, the safest and most effective route is still exploring the FDA approved alternatives, which that can be compounded legally. Semaglutide and tirzepatide, if they are currently in a documented shortage. All right. So please look around for some trials if you guys are really interested in getting on retatrutide. And let me just touch on this. So what's happening is a lot of people are at this point in their journey where they're just not satisfied because the weight loss has got to a point that just didn't get them over that hump, right? So only thing I would ask is participating in trial. No, I did not. Lenatide was actually one that they actually tried to get me to possibly might to do, but I wasn't interested in doing that. But the trials are going on, lots of them. So please try to get into a trial if you want to try something that's investigational, like with retatrutide. Pulmonary hypertension. It says, "Are you asking?" I think Shani was asking, Jolene if she was asking about pulmonary hypertension. Um, so if you want to actually get into you want to get the investigational medication, try to sign up for the trial. There's a lot of retatrutide trials going on. So if you want to really do it, Get into a trial. Get into a trial. That way, it's FDA approved. I mean, not FDA approved. You know that it's a safe route. Because you're actually getting the real thing. That's the best thing. I can really say about that. But do not, if for any reason, trust these particular online people that are just popping up trying to offer you these random R3 drugs. Okay. It is very, very risky. So basically what I wanted to say, and we're gonna wrap this up. Because people are like at a point where they feel like they still got 30, 40, 50 pounds, left, and they can't get it off, and I would say the best thing you can have right now is just some patience. Maximize on tirzepatide or Zepbound, maximize that dose and just do all the things you possibly can do and have a little bit of patience because the real thing is coming. We don't know exactly what accessibility is going to look like around that, but there are some small tweaks that you can do. I would say with the lifestyle that you might not be doing. Just try to talk to everybody about all the things that they're doing and give it a shot. You know what I mean? Because you actually probably getting that last 30 or 40 pounds off over the next 6 months, is not worth your life, right? Or you getting something, something strange, or something happening, uh if something happening to you, because you didn't have patience. I mean, come on. A lot of us been obese all our lives, right? We could wait a few months. Or heck, maybe a year, because in the next year is going to be so many more options. And believe it or not, sometimes when something don't work for you, you could probably maybe even try another company, even if it's not. No, I do not have it anymore. I had it back when after that pulmonary embolism, blood clots in the lung. Okay, you and Shani and Jolene talking about something else. But yes, you definitely want to just have some patience, because that's the one thing that we all got to do. Just please have a little bit of patience. We've been obese forever. Keep taking the maximum amount of tirzepatide or Zepbound that you can actually get and do all of the things and more. If you actually been training 2 or 3 times a week, pick it up to 4. Lift a little bit heavier, just do a little bit more. I promise you probably aren't doing. There's probably something just a little bit more. Tweak your eating. You know what I mean? Maybe you need to lower your dose. Maybe you need to come down a little bit on your dose and eat a lot. Eat not a lot more, but eat a decent amount of calories to get that energy. Like I was talking about, so you can lift a little bit more weights. You know what I mean? So I would say before being or getting to the point that you're frustrated with what you're calling a stall, that you actually try to do a little bit more of the lifestyle changes if you're already on the highest dose. Because believe it or not, there is always a little bit more. Let somebody else know what you're doing and then see if they can give you an opinion on what you could possibly do more to help yourself physically before you go to, let's say, a different, pipeline of drug or peptide, unless you're disabled. If you're not disabled, then I think that there might be something. A lot of people, are restricting calories that they shouldn't. You might be at a point where you've been doing the same thing for so long that you're not actually losing, because your body is just used to what you do, right? Because your body's gonna always fight back, and that's kind of like what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean, Shiny. And I think that's what it is. A lot of people I'm seeing, they like, man, I just can't get this last 30, 40 pounds, or whatever. But I really think that a lot of us aren't physically doing some things. Yeah, yeah, aren't physically doing some things, and not so much you, Geraldine. People that are at that fabulous, you know, upper age and stuff like that have disabilities. I kind of understand, but I mean, for some of us young folk, you know what I mean, in our 40s and 50s, you know, you might really feel like you're doing all the things, but I'm telling you, let somebody else really see what that looks like. I would say write it down. Write down all the stuff that you do. Write down your workouts. Write down all of your food, and really have someone else, not you, somebody else that you trust, look at it and say, "Hey, I see you doing this, but why don't you try this for a week? Maybe you could tweak that. Maybe here." You can eat a little more food to have a little more energy, and maybe you can add a little more weight. Maybe you can walk a little bit longer. Maybe you could do, there's so many things that you could do that probably might be able to like flip or twist or get a little something going versus you taking another new peptide or another new drug, right? Because if you're on the max dose, that max dose is still working. It's still working. But your body has actually gotten used to and settled in, and decided that, hey, I'm going to fight you here. So since it's fighting you there, you feel like you're stalled and it's not working because you're not seeing pounds come off the scale. And I was losing too fast, and I want to get more workout in. Yes, yes, Geraldine, that's what I'm saying. Because what it is I and this is why, like, I know something. I don't think this is repetitive. Like what I'm doing here when I talk about, the gaining muscle and the losing fat, body fat, because people still are stuck on this total body weight. I just had a conversation today with a friend that's in the gym. She's been in the stall for 1 month. 1 month. That's not. Yeah, that's not enough. I don't know how long she's been on the actual GLP-1, but yeah, 1 month is not. And I thank you for saying that, Shani, because that's gonna give me my closing point too. Because I almost forgot that I wanted to close with what you just brought up. I'm gonna close with the thing is, you definitely want to make sure that you let somebody else see your plan. Like, don't hide it. Like, let somebody else see your plan. Because a lot of us get on here and we're vague and we say, I've been all doing all the things, and we see people outside walking around and stuff like that. But sometimes there's something in that plan. There's a kink that probably actually could actually be worked out if somebody else like look at your plan. So let somebody proofread your plan. So that way, if they proofread the plan, that's in the life. That's also doing the lifestyle things. That's working out. That's eating right, that's lifting weights, that's walking, that's doing all the stuff, that's sleeping enough, that's, what I'm saying, de-stressing enough, that's doing all that and getting that synergy. Let them look at your plan so that way they can say, well, you know what? This is what I do. I actually added one more protein shake on these 3 days, right? And those 3 protein shakes gave me a little bit of a boost, and I've been actually increased my weight. Not by a lot, but instead of lifting 8 pounds, I'm lifting 10 pounds, and I'm lifting it to failure. And I'm looking at my form, right? Because if you're not actually lifting the proper form, right? Because that's another thing, right? Some people think that they like, oh, I know what I'm doing. But you sometimes need to actually watch a new video, talk to a new person, and say, hey, look at this. What you think about that? And they can say, hey, well, I see what you're doing there, but you're not getting results because you're not you might need to tweak this a little bit. There's things as simple as the way you might press a weight, right? Where if you pressing, let's say, straight out, right? You putting pressure on your neck and not your chest, right? When you actually give it a little arch and you coming around, now it goes to the chest. It's very, very, very simple, minute things that people are, and they think they doing all the stuff. They think they know, but they don't know. It's very simple. So sometimes you got to talk to people, ask questions. Don't think that you know everything, and let people see what you're doing. And then once they see what you're doing, they can give you a little bit of advice, like, well, hey, maybe not. So don't be closed off. Don't be scared of the judgment thing and all that. You know, Try to listen to some people. And like I said, I'm not saying listen to anybody on the internet, but at least people that you see that might be able to that's showing that they're doing well, and say, hey, well, this is my plan. This is what I've been doing. What do you think? Do you think I could do something a little bit different? Because this might actually get, me to my goal. But now we also need to evaluate what that looks like, right? Because your goal might be skewed. And what I mean is, if your goal is just simply looking at total body weight, I already know that you've been you're off balance because you're only looking at one thing. Is you're looking at, I gotta get my weight down. I gotta get my weight down. But how much muscle have you lost? Do you know? Are you even losing fat, or you just losing more muscle? So you can go and lose another 30 pounds and look worse. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Shaw, long time no see. You can lose another 30 pounds and look really bad. You know what I mean? Because you lost too much. I told her I have not had a stall or plateau, but yeah, I adjust and tweak along the way. I told her, sis, you need to change things up. She thinks, yes, that's probably it. So it's good she got you, Shiny, because basically you could be the blueprint for her. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, because with the way you went through and constantly tweaking and changing, just give her what it is that you got, and I'm sure, excuse me, I'm sure it will actually help her get in the right way. Not eating and then grabs a bag of chips together. Yeah, see, you see what I mean though? You see what I mean? These are the intricacies that we don't hear about, right? Those little intricacies like that is just is what I mean, man. It's what I mean. It's what I mean because like look at that. You know what I mean? Like you she complaining, but yet and still she ain't telling nobody about the bags of chips and stuff like that. So a lot of times we hearing that the drug is not working and it actually is. You know what I mean? It's really, really, really working in a major way. It's really working in a major way, you know what I mean? And yet we sitting up here, saying it has no guidance at all. Yeah, and that's the problem, you know what I mean? That's why I make these videos in hopes that people will see them. I think I drop a lot of jewels in here, and I hope that people will come over and see them because I think that sometimes they be missing subtle things and they make drastic changes, right? Gives her no guidance. Yeah. So they make well a lot of the companies like that. Even the primary cares don't give you too much because it's really like a quick you have your appointment and then you talk to them when you have an issue. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, and that's the unfortunate part. The whole world is like on these GLP-1s and there's isn't a lot of guidance. People just stabbing themselves and then don't know what and how and like I said, they're looking at community so she can yeah, absolutely. And then they looking at, just like total body weight, right? And it's and everybody is guilty of it. Everybody is guilty of it at one time or another. It's just looking at total body weight and nothing else. We have to start looking at our body's composition. We got to look at muscle, fat, all of that because what you're doing is I mean the best way I can say it is you're making less inflamed. She can't even tell me what dose she on. Oh my goodness, that's not good. Why she can't tell you what dose she on? So is she just like she's giving herself her injection and not knowing what she pulling? I mean, she don't know what they sent her because it should be on her vial. It should be on her vial. You know what I mean? Like, cause it's like is she taking 25, 50, or 75 milligrams? You know what I mean? This is so not cool. Yeah, I would ask to see her vial. Maybe she can show you her vial, and then that way maybe you would know like what it is that she on because that really don't make no sense. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. She can have a headache. She might be overdosing. She might actually be overdosing. You know what I mean? So that's not a good thing. Um, but yeah. So no. So what I was saying was I said that most people definitely want to make sure that they actually get one of these scales. I always show this scale, and I need to get some stock in this Renfo because I'm always pretty much promoting this. I'm not here for money. You know what I mean? Don't really need it. It is what it is. She don't know. She only know the amount to draw up, but don't know that those access see the file, but haven't seen it yet. Yeah, that's crazy, Shawnee. Um, but I should get some stock in this the way I'm pushing this. But this ain't for Renfo, this for y'all. I'm pushing this scale because I'm telling you, anybody on GLP-1 needs to have this. I think that when you get on a GLP-1, you should have to have this scale as a prerequisite to actually injecting yourself. Why? Because you need to learn all of the things. Like this thing tells you all of these things. Like, look at that. If you can see it, you see all of the metrics. Look at all those metrics. All of these metrics. These are all the metrics that you're going to learn by just having this scale. And these are all important. They're all extremely important, right? So, and I realize it's backwards because it's on video, so I apologize, but I think y'all get the drift, right? Um, so I mean that's really the thing. Like you gotta like know you can't formulate a plan if you don't know what your numbers are, right? And your number is not just that, oh, I weigh 200 pounds. I weigh 200 pounds. That's my metric. And I want to weigh 170. You know, that's not enough. That's not enough. Great, Geraldine. That is amazing. That's a wonderful birthday gift. Wonderful birthday gift. But I think everybody should have that scale because it's literally like having a DEXA in the house. Now, DEXA might be a little bit more accurate, right? But this is about 98% of having a DEXA. It's close enough. This is close enough compared to the fact that everybody using $25 Walmart scales because that's what I was using and that's what most people use. Getting this is so close to a DEXA that it's worth it. It's worth it. So again, because it's really late and I want to wrap it up, I'm gonna go right back to the very beginning and I'm gonna close. So at the very beginning, I got on and I said there's 5 things that people should do in order to gain muscle and lose body fat, right? Those 5 things are eat more than you're eating. Even if you can't eat based on, like you say, well, I have a lot of suppression based on the medication, you want to front load. So what I mean by front load is on the days where you can eat the most, which is probably about 2 days prior to you taking your next shot, right? So my shot is on Friday. So what that would mean is on Wednesday, I would eat as much as I want to say as much as I can. I would eat more calories than I normally do, right? Because that's probably Wednesday and Thursday is probably the best days for me to do that, right? And Friday, which is shot day, I probably could also do it. So those 3 days, right? I'm gonna eat probably the most calories, right? Then once a day after, your suppression starts, and you probably got the most suppression for those 4 days, right? So that's going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? I'm not going to be able to eat as much. And it's okay because I front loaded already a good deal of calories. So that way, the reason I'm doing that is because I want to get enough protein to protect my muscle, right? And what that looks like is 0.8 to about a gram of protein, which would equate your goal weight, right? Whether that's 150 or 200, you want to get about 150 grams or 200 grams of protein every those on those days for sure, the front load days, and as much as you can on the other days that where you have that max suppression, right? And the reason being is because you want to protect the muscle and you want to have enough energy to lift weights because you have to lift weights. You gotta lift weights. And then what you gotta do also is make sure that you're increasing the weight as you go along. Make sure that you lift in with proper form. Look up the YouTube. The videos are all on YouTube about proper form, or even Apple or Android. You want to TikTok. Make sure that you lifting the weight and have proper form, and try to go to authentic influencers that actually have some credentials on how to actually lift weights, because there's subtle movements that actually might be robbing you of actual outcome, right? So once you do that, what up, Paul? So once you do that, right, you got we got the first two, right? We got eating more, right, and we got lifting weights. Those are the first two, right? Then the third one's going to be making sure you actually do your cardio on the incline. So make sure you're doing the cardio on the incline if you're actually on the treadmill. If you're not on the treadmill and you actually are outside, make sure you're actually walking up the hill, right? Because what you're trying to do there is, hey, good night, Geraldine. Good night. And what you're trying to do there is you want to make sure that you actually getting that energy expenditure that you get, from what people will get from retatrutide when that's available, because that's going to increase that energy expenditure. You're getting that burn because the heart rate is up, right? um and then you want to actually make sure that you are actually making sure that you keep your stress manageable, right? Taking a break, breathing exercises, whatever that looks like, right? Hey, what up, Teddy? Whatever that looks like for you. And finally, you want to make sure that you actually are getting enough sleep, at least 7 hours, right? You might not be getting 9 hours, 10 hours. It's probably hard for a lot of us today, but 7 hours. Find a way to get 7 hours of sleep. So if you do those things, eat more, lift weights, walk, manage stress, and get sleep, those 5 things synergize. And what happens is you actually start to lose body fat. You start to lose body fat and you start gaining muscle. The actual total body weight on the scale might not go down, but who cares? Because what you're doing is actually recompositioning your body and gaining health, because that's really what we got on the journey for. We didn't get on the journey for just total body weight. So again, if you're worried about, if you're clinically obese and you're 40 or more, or just obese 30 or more, then maybe you want to just be, just lose weight in general. But once you surpass that and you get what a lot of us have gotten to, a lot of the OGs, people that's been on it more than a year, let's say a year or more, you definitely want to actually start looking at your actual markers beyond that total body weight that's on the scale, because that's just one thing. But so many people are just concerned with the total body weight of this week. How much weight did I lose this week? And never recompositioning their body and getting rid of that most unhealthy fat. So that is realistically what this video was about. I literally recapped it in like 60 seconds. I gave the long route earlier to everybody else, but that's kind of what I did. And hopefully the guys that chimed in late, go back and watch the replay. I would appreciate it. The other thing is, I think before you get anything cosmetic, right? You should give the actual GLP-1 2 full years. You should be on it 2 full years before you go to anything cosmetic, right? Because you want to actually give the medication time. You want to give the medication time to work. And everybody that I seen on this medication that been on the medication, let's just say for more than 2 years, right? More than 2 years. You know, people that been on this for 130 weeks, 150 weeks, you know, all of that. They actually look a lot different. Hey, how you doing, Kim J? They look a lot different than they look a lot different than they did, you know, after just 1 year. So one of the biggest main things that people I think forget on this journey is patience, right? They forget patience. You got to give the meds time to work because not only do we look different after a few months, we look different after a couple of years too on these medications if you continue to take it the way you're supposed to take it. We got 13 people in the chat in the live stream. So if you actually didn't smash that like, please smash that like button just so that way the algorithm, you know, knows that you actually prefer to see the channel and you actually like to come here and get this particular information. And make sure you hit that bell so you get notifications when I go live. So that was the roundup. I also talked about a friend of mine, Jason. He was a young guy, right? I think he was about 47. He was a childhood friend. He actually also did some events with me and my wife here late Boston Babe, and he passed away a day and a half ago. So you know, just wanted to actually dedicate this you know, this particular live to him. And you know, he was a really good guy. He was a connector. He was very personable, you know. And it's very unfortunate because he had children and grandchildren, and you know, he passed away. Really good guy, but shout out to him and praying for him and his family, especially on this you know, Men's Health Month. He actually was overweight at one time, and he actually appreciate that, Paul, and got his health together. You know, he was looking good, doing good, but obviously there's things that people, you know, leave unmentioned that we don't know about. And you know, you know, and I don't know the details, but I just know that he passed away. So there's that. But like I said, if you know, like I said, if you're here, please smash that like before, you know, we conclude, because this will allow people to actually know, you know, and that you guys like the video and you actually want to see this in the algorithm. Also hit that notification bell. Okay. And finally, I did talk about the Retatrutide, you know, the gray market, you know, people going around and these internet sites are that are popping up. It's all scams. So I really would like to tell people, do not feed into these internet sites, because the ones that's popping up, you know, calling themselves wellness, and they got these pharmacies that they're quoting, quote unquote, using. Don't believe it. This is gray market. You know, they're sourcing stuff from China, and they're basically, you know, gaming people, making them, you know, trust them. Like, hey, we're getting it from a wonderful protected pharmacy, and you got people like these internet docs that are actually stacking things together, making their own what we call cocktails. You know, telling you getting retatrutide, when in fact they just pretty much mixing tirzepatide and glucagon. They're actually mixing actual glucagon, because glucagon comes in a pen for those that don't know, right? It actually comes in a pen too. You can get glucagon for those that actually suffer, you know, with hypoglycemia, you know. So the thing is, they're mixing these pens, right, and telling you that they're giving you retatrutide. Okay, so do not fall victim to these guys that's getting on here telling you they got retatrutide. And the ones that do got it in the vial, that's concocting it, this all ingredients from China. It's all ingredients they concocted from China, and they do not know, you know, the actual, you know, volume that should be to create the proper synergy and efficacy to make it the way Eli Lilly is making it. So if you do want to get on an investigative drug, sign up for a trial, right? Because there's every other day there's someone else that's doing a retatrutide or Lilly trial, you know. So listening and while driving. Okay, cool. But you definitely want to make sure, and anybody that actually is in the chat, please like the stream. We got 15 watching and 11 likes. Because this will teach the algorithm that these are the type of videos you want to see, and hit that notification bell. But yes, don't be fooled, y'all. Don't be fooled. And in closing, I'm gonna read this little excerpt again, just for everybody. Retatrutide is not legally available on the compounding market or through any retail pharmacy. The drug is still in phase 3 trials. The FDA explicitly warns that selling, compounding, or using retatrutide outside of official clinical trials is illegal, and has sent warnings to the online companies doing so. This is the FDA. It's not Eli Lilly. Uh, Clinical trials only. The only authentic retatrutide is the one supplied directly by the manufacturer, Eli Lilly, for controlled trial participants. There is no FDA approval. The drug is still experimental. It does not meet the legal requirements to be produced by compounding pharmacies. The FDA has sent warning letters to several online vendors, and compounding pharmacies for selling research grade or compound retatrutide, noting that these drugs bypass manufacturing safeguards and pose significant health risk. While you may find websites and wellness forums selling retatrutide as a research chemical, these powders and liquids are not evaluated by FDA for safety, sterility, and purity. Safety, sterility, and purity. Ordering these unverified products online for personal use carries extreme health risk. Phase 3 clinical trials are expected to conclude in 2026, which may lead to FDA approval. Once FDA approval is granted, it may take time for the drug to be commercially available, and it is highly likely manufacturer will strongly protect its legal rights against compounding. If you're looking for medical options for weight loss or metabolic health, your safest and most effective route is to explore FDA-approved alternatives that can be compounded legally. Semaglutide or tirzepatide, if they are currently in a documented shortage. So, one more time, do not use that stuff that these vendors are popping up telling you that they got. What you can do is utilize FDA approved medications along with the assistance of your doctor or your medical team, and lead it where it may, right? Do all of the things, get with other people who actually are not on the journey, not on your specific journey, and share your workout information, share your calorie information with them, and allow them, people that you trust that you see are doing well, and allow them, if they are willing to tweak what it is that you're doing to see if you can get more weight loss that way. If you're frustrated and at a point where you're not losing weight anymore and you still feel like you got 20, 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds to lose, because there are things, I guarantee that you are not doing that you could do. That could simply be adding 5 more pounds to your weight rack. Add 5 more pounds. Add one more day of walking, one more day of resistance training. Increase your calories. There's so many things. You might have to reduce your med to get more food in so you have more energy to work more. But there is a way to get some more weight off. But you also got to have patience. You got to have some patience because, again, this takes years. It's not going to be days, not going to be weeks, not going to be months. For you to get total overall health, it takes years to do. It takes years to do. So have a little bit of patience. Let the medication continue to work. You also do the work that you're supposed to do. Share information with others so they can help you out in the stalls that you feel like are stalls that probably aren't. That's probably just your body settled into, and you don't know because you don't know the numbers because you don't have a RINFO or you don't have a proper scale that can pretty much tell you that even though you didn't lose weight, you gained muscle this week and you actually did amazing because you dropped some fat and you gained muscle and the scale didn't move. But you don't know that because you don't have the right scale. Using the scale that you got from Walmart that's probably not giving you the accurate numbers. Okay? Get the actual scale, invest in the scale. This is available. It's not being protected by, it's not accessible. It's available. You can buy it, for those that can afford it. You might have to actually cut some coffee this week or next week or a couple of weeks to get your scale so you can get the right numbers and you can actually chase the right goals. Because a lot of us are just keep looking at total body weight and saying, oh, this is a failure. I still got 30 pounds to lose and nothing's happening. Whole time you gain a muscle. Your body's recomping. And this is a large shirt. Just so everybody know, I used to wear 3X big and polo. This is an actual regular large, a regular large off the rack. And I still got room. Hello. That's called recount. My waist is getting smaller. My chest look big. You know what I'm saying? My chest is looking much better. You know what I'm saying? Like it's they looking. They growing the right way. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the, I'm losing the man boob and getting the proper chest. You know what I'm saying? My arms is getting bigger. Like I said, my pant size is continuing to shrink. My body fat percentage went down, my muscle went up. So anybody that haven't looked, go check my post. If you go into my page, you go over the post, you'll see my numbers. My numbers are right there. You will see that I'm losing body fat and I'm gaining muscle. All you got to do is go to my post. My numbers are there. My wife has a similar story. She also has done the same things. You know why? She's doing the same exact thing. The same thing, same direction I gave y'all, I gave her, and she's doing it. It works. It works. So please just try. Please just try. Try to do what it is that I'm saying because it works. Yeah, right? I said, hello to this large. I got a large. I haven't had, I don't know when I ever wore a large shirt. I mean, ever. I cannot, in my mind, I don't remember wearing a large shirt ever. So That's where we at. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave y'all because it's extremely late now, and I want to let y'all, get y'all rest for work tomorrow. Get y'all 7 hours of sleep. But remember, like I said, don't trust the gray market. Make sure you only go with FDA approved or actual trusted 503A, 503B compounders. Make sure that you're actually doing the 5 things that I mentioned. Go back and watch the replay if you didn't get it. And please, if you're gonna consider cosmetic surgery, which is all good if that's the last resort, but give the medicine 2 years. Because trust me, I already looked at my lipo. I'm lipo 360. If in the next 6 months I don't get to the body fat percentage and my midsection ain't what it is I want to be 100%, oh yeah, uh, that lipo 360 is gonna be me. Because I'm gonna get the rest of this fat body, midsection off. You heard? All right, y'all. So, like I always like to end all of my videos. Well, first before I leave, I want to thank everybody that actually stopped in. Everybody actually hollered at G's 101 tonight. I do appreciate y'all. I do, like I said, dedicate this live to my main man Jason, who lost his life at 47, far far too young. And like I said again, appreciate y'all tonight. All my obesity warriors, remember we're in this together. Stand up. Later.